Something horrifying happens when a person gets tired of suffering in silence. One day their heart stops begging, their soul stops chasing, and suddenly they become emotionally unreachable to everyone who once controlled them. You are not imagining the change happening inside you right now. The old version of you is collapsing because your spirit can no longer survive by pretending everything is okay anymore. You used to tolerate disrespect just to avoid losing people you loved. You used to destroy your mental peace, trying to keep toxic people comfortable around your kindness. But pain changes people in ways that nobody warns them about. After being emotionally betrayed enough times, the human soul stops seeing the world with innocent eyes forever. There was a time when you believed your kindness would eventually make people love you the way you deserved. You kept giving your energy, your loyalty, your patience, and your heart to people who only showed up when they needed something from you. And every time they disappointed you, you blamed yourself instead of realizing you were pouring love into people who were emotionally empty. You ignored the signs because you were terrified of losing people you had become emotionally attached to. You accepted disrespect in silence because deep down you thought being alone would hurt more than constantly being emotionally destroyed by others. So you stayed quiet while your spirit slowly suffocated beneath fake smiles, forced conversations, and relationships that drained your soul every single day. But pain changes a human being in ways that nobody can reverse once it reaches the soul. One night you finally became exhausted from carrying emotional weight that was never yours to hold in the first place. Something inside you broke so deeply that the version of you who tolerated everything simply stopped existing after that moment. Now your silence feels different because it no longer comes from fear. Now you walk away from disrespect without explaining yourself because your heart finally understands its own value. The people who once benefited from your weakness can feel your energy changing, and that change makes them uncomfortable around you. You no longer crave attention from people who ignored your pain when you needed them most. You no longer feel connected to fake energy, empty conversations, or relationships built on emotional manipulation. And even though this transformation feels lonely sometimes, your soul knows it would rather be alone than return to becoming a prisoner inside its own pain again. The truth is that your old self had to disappear for this new version of you to survive. Because the person you used to be was surviving pain. But the person you are becoming is finally learning how to live without destroying themselves for others anymore. Something inside you broke so deeply that you will never go back to the person you used to be. Not because you wanted to change, but because life kept pushing you into situations where your old self could no longer survive. You started noticing something strange happening in your life after that breaking point. People who once had full control over your emotions suddenly started losing access to your energy. The version of you that used to explain everything is gone now. Now you don't argue, you don't chase, and you don't try to convince anyone to understand your worth anymore. And this is what scares people the most about your transformation. Because silence from you is no longer weakness. It feels like power they can't control anymore. You are no longer the person who begs to be understood. You are the person who walks away and lets silence answer everything instead of arguments or explanations. That's why certain people feel uncomfortable around you now. They can sense that the version of you they used to manipulate no longer exists in the same way anymore. You are not becoming the same person again because something inside you has permanently changed. The way you see people, the way you feel energy, and the way you respond to disrespect has completely transformed. And now, even your silence carries a warning that you will never go back to what broke you before. You stopped explaining yourself the moment you realized that understanding cannot be forced on people who benefit from misunderstanding you. Every time you tried to make someone see your pain, you only ended up hurting yourself even more. So now your energy has shifted from explaining to detaching, from begging to walking away. And this detachment is what people around you cannot understand, because they are still expecting the old version of you. They are waiting for you to react emotionally, like before, to chase like before, to care like before. But that version of you no longer exists in the same emotional space it used to occupy. Now your boundaries are silent but powerful, and your distance speaks louder than any argument ever could. People can feel when they lose access to your energy, even if you never say a single word about it. And that is why your presence now feels different, almost untouchable, compared to who you used to be. The truth is, you didn't become cold. You became selective with your emotions and protective of your peace. You no longer invest your heart where there is no emotional return, no respect, and no genuine understanding. Because pain taught you that giving everything to the wrong people only destroys the right parts of you. And this is why your transformation feels so intense even to yourself. Because it is not temporary change, it is permanent awakening. You are slowly becoming someone who no longer survives life, but actually lives it with awareness and control. And there is no going back to the version of you that once accepted less than what your soul truly deserves. There comes a moment in life when you stop feeling pain the same way you used to. Not because life becomes easier, but because your soul stops reacting to things that once had power over your emotions. And that is the moment people around you start saying you have changed. Without understanding what you survived to become this way, you no longer feel the need to explain your silence to people who are never interested in your truth. You learned that some conversations are not meant to fix anything. They are only meant to drain your energy further. So instead of fighting to be understood, you chose peace, even if it meant being misunderstood forever. And this is where your power starts to become visible, even without words. People can sense when they no longer have emotional control over you, like they used to. Your reactions disappear, your explanations stop, and your energy becomes unreadable to those who once knew how to disturb your peace. The strange part is that you are not trying to be different. You are simply no longer willing to abandon yourself for temporary connection. You have already seen what happens when you give your entire heart to people who only take without giving anything back. So now your loyalty is no longer automatic. It is earned through respect, consistency, and emotional safety. People from your past may still expect the old version of you to return someday. They may still wait for you to become soft, forgiving, and easily accessible like before. But what they don't understand is that pain has already rewritten your emotional boundaries permanently. Now even love feels different to you because you no longer confuse attention with real care. You see intentions more clearly, you feel energy more deeply, and you walk away faster when something feels emotionally unsafe. And this awareness is what separates your old self from the version you're becoming right now. At some point, you will realize that you were never losing people. You were only losing versions of yourself that could no longer survive in your new awareness. The old you was built to endure pain, accept less, and stay quiet even when everything inside was breaking. But that version had to disappear for the truth of who you are becoming to finally take its place. There will be moments when loneliness will try to convince you that you made a mistake by changing. It will whisper that going back would be easier, that silence and tolerance would bring temporary comfort again. But deep inside, you already know that returning to what broke you is not comfort. It is self-destruction disguised as familiarity. You are now at a point where your energy no longer matches the people who once shaped your emotional pain. You no longer fit in places where your silence was taken as weakness and your kindness was taken for granted. And that misalignment is not loss. It is evolution forcing you into a higher version of yourself. The most powerful truth is that you survived everything that was supposed to break you completely. Every moment you thought you would not recover actually became the reason you are mentally and emotionally stronger now. And now nothing has the same control over you that it once did, because you have already outgrown your own suffering. One day, you will look back at this version of yourself and realize it was not pain that destroyed you. It was pain that rebuilt you. You will understand that every ending, every loss, and every emotional collapse was shaping you into someone unshakable and self-aware. And that realization will finally make you grateful for everything that once felt unbearable. So if you feel different, distant, or disconnected right now, do not fight it. It is not confusion. It is transformation happening at a level your old identity cannot understand yet. Because the person you used to be is gone. And what remains is someone far stronger, calmer, and impossible to break again.